All right. So let's get into this. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about when it comes to Summer League, specifically Victor Wembanyama. Full transparency, I missed his first game. I watched the second game, and I watched like a highlight recap of his first game. And the conversation, mainly on Twitter, was very polarizing, I guess is the word I'm looking for when it comes to Victor Wembanyama. And I think part of that is understandable. The way ESPN, the way the NBA, the way Bleacher Report, the way Fox Sports, whatever, have put him on this pedestal, this elite pedestal that, in all honesty, as much as I can remember, I don't think I've ever seen someone, because I'm going to keep it a bean. I wasn't watching basketball in 2003, 2002 when LeBron James came into the league. And when he was being, looked at as a prospect, I wasn't watching hoop then. I'm just going to keep it a bean. So personally, in my lifetime, I've never seen a player be looked at the way and talked about as much as people are talking about Victor Wembanyama. So his first game, dud. There's no two ifs, ands, buts. There's no way about it. His first game, he just simply did not have a good game. In his post-game presser, he talks about, he just basically did not know what he was doing out there, and it looked like that. And he also said he was gassed, and that was apparent as well. And the first game, I feel like the Spurs were just kind of giving him the ball in space, spreading out the floor and saying, go to work. There were a lot of times, especially in that when they played the Hornets, when they played when they played Brandon Miller in the Hornets? Correct. When they played Brandon Miller in the Hornets in that first game, there was a lot of guards doubling off and trying to, just commit to trying to steal the ball from him and try to disrupt his ability to dribble in space. And they were very successful with that. But I think a part of that was the Spurs weren't giving him anything good in terms of running sets to get him into his spots. Now, let's talk about his second game against the Portland Trailblazers. In my mind, this was obviously a way better game for him. 27 points, 9 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 12 boards, 3 blocks. And one of the things I noticed differently was he just looked more confident. That first game, big deer in headlights energy, just doing stuff. He looked more confident, looked more deliberate. I think the Spurs did a better job of getting him to his spots. There were a lot of post entries, especially if he had a guard mismatch, or honestly, even the big that the Blazers had guarding him in that game looked like a guard mismatch. A couple of things that I noticed. Once again, let him get the ball in the post more. Him in the post, I think, is something that the Spurs and the actual Greg Popovich is going to be able to do more. And I'm very curious to see how they do that. If they try to run some off-ball screens, then maybe get a smaller defender on him in the post. I'm very curious. And I'm looking forward to, honestly, seeing how bigger defenders defend him in the post, because while he has a height advantage, he won't have a strength advantage over most people in the NBA, at least for not a while, until he, really gets in the weight room, really puts on a grown man body, for lack of a better word. And y'all sleep on the Mavs. Ain't nobody sleep on the Mavs. I'm liking what the Mavs are going to do this summer. We talked about them last week. I just think when he's in a proper system with Greg Popovich, that's when we're going to see what the real version of Victor Wembanyama can look like in the NBA. These Summer League games are fun, but I got a note later down we'll get to, but you got to take Summer League games with a grain of salt. I'll say that. A couple of other things I liked that I saw from him. Rim protection against smaller guards was there. When guards were driving, he's got the ability to long arms to deter shots. Once again, interested to see that against other centers with some size and strength in the league, if they're able to use their size and strength to move him to be able to negate some of his shot blocking ability. But when you're that tall and your arms are that long, even if you get pushed back, you might still be able to defend the rim decently. I'm curious to see what that looks like. He has a very high rebound motor. In that game against the Trailblazers, he had 4 offensive rebounds, a couple where he got his own and just got it and dunked it right back up immediately. With his height, his foot speed, being able to get around defenders and stuff, it'd be interesting to see how much he can impact the glass on the offensive side, especially defensively. I think he's going to still be a really good rebounder, but if he can extend some extra possessions, get some extra possessions for the Spurs, that's a really, really valuable asset to have a high motor guy who can get you some offensive rebounds and go right back up with it and get a bucket. One of the things that was talked a lot about him and on ESPN and how the guys were, prospecting him and things like that, but one of the things that I hadn't seen from him yet is his playmaking ability, and that really impressed me. A lot of really good passes for him, either out of the double teams in the posts, on a drive, dumping it off to the other big, just making the right reads at the right times and making smart, intelligent passes. They didn't all turn out to be assists. Some of that, not to talk down on his teammates of the summer league, but I think some of that is the level of competition he was playing with. Some guys were just missing open layups, for lack of a better phrase. NBA players might not do that. Some deficiencies or things I think he definitely needs to improve on, or things that like simple things I want to see him get better at that can make a big impact right away. He has to be a better screener. I think the Spurs and Greg Popovich can do a really good job of getting him in some ball screens, getting him in some off-ball screens, setting a lot of screens. Because he's not a big body and doesn't have a wide frame, his screens have to be technical for them to be effective. So he has to make a solid technical screen. A lot of his screens turned into either an early slip, which isn't bad at times, or just it wasn't really a solid technical screen and the defender just walked around it very easily. His screens are going to have to be technical. He's not a big guy. He's not a strong guy. His screens just are going to have to be technical. Somebody on TikTok said he should play power forward. It's a mismatch. I like that idea too. I'm excited to see how Greg Popovich decides to use him. Sometimes it's going to be center, sometimes it's going to be power forward. I think he has a skill set for both. And especially because I'll say this. Well, so far what I've seen in the Summer League games, there are a lot of times when the Spurs just straight up switched and he was out on an island guarding guards. Now, it's not NBA caliber level guards. Let's keep it a bean here. But the foot speed was there. The lateral quickness was there to an extent. I don't think he's going to be some guy you can just say can guard all 5 players. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. But I think a good hard hedge and recover, a quick switch and, recover. Those are things I think he's going to be able to do. Showing high on the screen, not just playing at the level of the screen, but showing high on the screen to try to deter shooters, especially with that length that he has. I think he has the ability to be a really good defensive player in the league. The only drawback for him is what everybody's saying is going to be his size. Now, all that being said, ultimately, I am high on Victor Wembanyama, but that's because I'm just an optimistic person. Y'all if you've been watching me for a while, you've been rocking with the content for a while, y'all know I was high on Zion. Y'all know I'm still holding out hope for Zion. I'm just an optimistic person by nature. That's just who I am. If it turns out that Vic's a bust, I'm going to put that in quotation marks. We'll talk about that when we get here. But until then, I'm going to be rooting for the kid, and I want to see him turn out to be a good basketball player. At the very least, I want to see him play good basketball. Is he going to turn into the greatest player of all time? Whatever. We'll talk about that in 20 years when his career is over. But for now, I'm just looking forward to see him start his NBA career and play good basketball, whatever that means for him. One of the things I did want to talk about when it comes to Summer League, like I said, full transparency, I haven't seen a ton of Summer League. But one of the things I love about Summer League is the fact that you find out names of people that you did not know. And one of the names and people I noticed that was a huge standout in that Spurs Timberwolves game was Michael DeVoe, a name I have never heard of before. He plays for the G League for the Portland Trailblazers. He had an absolutely phenomenal game, and it was 29 points, 10 and 17 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and he just looked really poised with the ball. His speed was there. He was making the right decisions. He was getting to the basket. He was shooting the ball well. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, Dags, why? I Googled him because I'm in middle game. I'm like, who is this? Googling him, it says plays for the Timberwolves, it plays for the Portland's G League affiliate team. And I'm like, dang, why he ain't on the roster? And then I think about it, I'm like, well, even if Dame does get traded and he not there, he still would be behind Scoot, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe. And I'm just like, yo, it's always fun for me to watch Summer League at times because you come up with a name like this. Michael DeVoe, a guy who put on a great game. His name is now out there. Maybe he'll get a 10-day somewhere. Maybe he'll get an opportunity to go to another Summer League, another G League team, and get an opportunity to get called up and get some NBA minutes on a different team if the minutes aren't there for him on the Timberwolves. Just talking here. But that's why I like Summer League. And that's why I continue to watch. Because even when some of the bigger names and some of the names of the guys aren't playing, if I have a free night, I'm still going to turn it on because I like watching hoop. And Summer League is just fun hoop. And I say Summer League is just fun hoop because in the same breath, Summer League really don't be meaning, not that it don't mean anything, but it's been plenty of guys who had really good Summer Leagues and their career didn't turn out to be that good. And it's been guys who had not great Summer Leagues that turned out to be absolutely phenomenal. So you always got to take Summer League with a grain of salt. It's honestly just for me an opportunity to see some players that you haven't seen yet, especially seeing the rookies, because I know I don't be watching college ball like that. But it's also from an NBA team standpoint, I also say you got to take summer league with a grain of salt because one, it's just fun basketball. Like there's no real stakes. It's just fun basketball. But two, a lot of times teams will do things differently in summer league than they would during the regular season. Meaning they might give a certain guy the ball more during summer league just to be like, hey, go out there and work. We just want to see what you look like. But he might be an off-ball guy during the regular season or vice versa. So, or he's the number one option on the summer league team and he's a six man, that's not doing that much in the NBA season. So it's just an opportunity to see guys in a different light. It's an opportunity for NBA teams to try something new. So that's why you also got to take it with a grain of salt because how a person's used in summer league might not even be how they're used during the regular season.